Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Hope you're having a lovely Saturday. Today, we invite Fiona from Vitasol again to join us on a live. We're talking about acne flare-ups. We're talking about summer skin, those flare-ups that happen in particular after Christmas and also after any event, really, when we're kind of eating foods and drinking alcohol and the things that we don't normally have on a daily basis. So what can happen to the skin, what I see in the clinic, I definitely see lots of congestion, lots of breakouts, lots of acne coming through again. So I can kind of take you a little bit step backwards to what you have already achieved with your skin, but there are things that we can do to actually bring our skin back to a really good place. So I'm going to invite Fiona now. We're going to have a really good chat about this. It's going to be really interesting today. So for her to join us. Hello. How are you, Fiona?
I'm good. How are you? I'm just going to turn my sound up a little bit. If I don't.
Sure.
That's it. That's better. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sure can. Can you hear me?
I can now. When I
good.
came on, I couldn't hear you, but now I can. So it's all good. Happy New Year. How are you?
And to you. I'm really well, thank you. Yeah, it's great to be back and I feel refreshed. Do you?
I do. You look amazing, actually. You look really fresh.
Oh, thank you. It's amazing what a bit of rest and sleep can do.
Indeed, it is. It is. No, I'm good. I'm pleased to be back. It's been a bit of a slow start coming back because of all the, the COVID stuff that's going on. But it's all part of the journey. We'll get there eventually. But no, I'm back and raring to go.
Fantastic. Yes, likewise. Yeah, I'm definitely keen for today. I think it's going to be a very suitable topic considering, we've just come back after Christmas, New Year's, had lots of events on, well, events that can go ahead. Eating the food that we don't normally eat and, excessive, sometimes a bit more alcohol than normal. It's summer. We want to get a great looking skin. So I think this is a really good topic to talk about today.
Absolutely. And what have you been seeing in clinic with your client's skin coming in? Have you been seeing congestion and things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So it kind of takes their skin a little bit, a couple steps backwards. The congestion starts to show up again. The acne starts to show up again. Inflammatory conditions can then, exacerbate again as well. Rosacea, the flare-ups. So, everyone's kind of a little bit panicking because I think, the good work I've done, has it just kind of gone backwards now? But I think this is a really good way to, educate clients and what we can do, to kind of get them back on track. And, I know that your powders are just fabulous. I use them and recommend them a lot in the clinic. They really help to support my client's skin. So thank you.
Thank you. Obviously I'm a Vitasol junkie. I literally can't live without it, but we have been getting some really good feedback. And I think, this time of year when we're really reassessing what to do with the skin, what to do with the diet and the lifestyle, it's a really good time to think about what we can do to add to the diet just to help to support nutrition and gut health and skin health as well, but in as natural and healthy way as possible.
Yeah, and taking that anxiety away for people as well, to let them know that we can get back on track. It's not a hard thing to do.
No, it's actually quite easy, and it doesn't have to be about deprivation. And as you know, I'm all about making it sustainable. Healthy eating doesn't have to be limiting and restrictive because ultimately that doesn't work long term. And exactly. So it's about what we can do, what we can add to the diet that's going to be really beneficial for our gut, for our mood, for our skin. And it's actually quite simple without having to take, hundreds and hundreds of different pills and supplements. And people get really caught up with all the different vitamins and things that they think that they should be taking, cutting out food groups, and it doesn't have to be that complicated for most people. As I say, there's always exceptions to the rule, and if someone's got a nutritional deficiency, then they may need a vitamin supplement. But for most people, if we really look at addressing the diet, making some healthy swaps, then there's a lot we can do just by looking at our diet.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's delve a little bit more into that with regard to diet. What sorts of foods really flare up acne? Like, what are those foods that really, make congestion and acne a lot worse?
This is $1 million question, and it's a really great question because it's different for everybody. And there's some evidence that some foods may worsen acne, and we can go through all of that, but it might not affect everyone. And it's important to understand that it's the diet as a whole, rather than just sort of villainizing one particular food group and people getting scared of it. It's how much you eat of that food. It's what other foods you are eating in combination with it. That's really important. And also, of course, Rose, looking at what is triggering the acne to start with. So as we know, food doesn't actually cause acne. We know it can be due to hormones. So the thing is to find out what's driving that acne, because sometimes people can have acne and it's acne cosmetica. So it's something that they are putting on the skin topically that is causing the congestion, and it may have nothing to do with hormones. So if you don't address the topical, then just changing the diet may actually have zero impact in some people. So it's always, as I always say, we've always got to look at the bigger picture.
Definitely.
Things such as, the topical ingredients, and obviously you would go through all of this with your clients to look at what may be triggering it. And it's not as easy as just looking at the ingredients. It's the final composition of the formula. But quite often bronzers and makeup primers, those types of things can be really problematic. And of course, we use a lot of those during summer.
Yes.
Bronzers, tinted moisturizers, and I'm not saying all of them will cause congestion. It does depend on the individual formulation. But I know, for me, there's a certain makeup primer that I love, especially if it's sort of on camera and things like that. But I know every time I use it, I'm going to get a breakout. So I wouldn't use it every day. Yeah. So it's about being aware of what may be triggering that topically, knowing if stress is your trigger, then again, the food may not play a massive role in that. We've got to get a handle on the stress. So it really is important to look at all of those factors. But when it comes to food, it's a really hard one when it comes to the research and that evidence, because obviously it depends on someone's nutritional status. Yes. It also depends on what their diet is like as a whole. And so it's very hard to say, this individual food will aggravate acne. But we do know that there are some foods that may worsen acne in some people. So when it comes down to things like dairy, for instance, there is some evidence to suggest that milk in particular, and in particular, interestingly, skimmed milk is where sort of the evidence is sort of pointing us to.
Okay.
That may have an issue with some people with breakouts. Very weak evidence when it comes to things like yogurt and cheese. But saying that, there are some people that say, and I've come across a lot of people actually, that when they eat cheese, they get breakouts. But it's also, are they having that with high refined crackers that are high in GI? Are they also having the cheese platter with wine and alcohol? We've got to look at the whole picture.
Definitely, but yes.
That's not to scare people off having yogurt or a little bit of cheese. It's how much dairy you're having. So if you're having more than sort of a cup of milk a day and you're finding that that's aggravating the breakout, you might want to reduce your dairy intake. Doesn't necessarily mean to completely avoid it, because as we've spoken about before, sometimes swapping to the non-dairy alternatives are high GI. They've got added refined oils, they've got added sugars, and they can be just as problematic and pro-inflammatory. So it's to be aware of what you're swapping out to. So a little bit of dairy, but if you're somebody that has got acne and you're drinking milkshakes and liters of milk, and then you're having pizza and you're having dairy with that, then that might be too much and it might be triggering you. So it's knowing what your triggers are. We also know that seems to be a link. And personally, you know, been doing this for 30 years, and where I see the links with acne and diet, what seems to worsen acne in my experience is high GI diets. So somebody's having, you know, the white bread for breakfast, and they're having noodles for lunch, then they're having pasta for dinner or pizza. Somebody that is living off a very processed, high refined GI diet, that's not going to do acne any favors, because what that's doing, it's really affecting what we call the IGF-1 levels. It's affecting blood sugar. So that's something to be aware of. Some people find that a high fat diet, high saturated fat in particular, may worsen their acne. And, you know, I've had plenty of clients that have actually found this. So again, if you're on a diet that, if you've got a lot of, you know, milk products, you've also got a high fat diet, and you've got high refined carbohydrates, that's not a great combination. So we've got to look at the whole picture. But you know, a lot of people will swap out and have, coconut oil and ghee, and they think they're being healthy. Well, if you've got acne, it may not be very good for you. And it's not a great thing to be doing anyway. I'm a big believer in extra virgin olive oil, and the studies are all there to support the benefits, the health benefits of that, because of the polyphenols and antioxidants. It's actually anti-inflammatory. And we know that a pro-inflammatory diet, which is saturated fat, high refined carbohydrates, you know, things like processed meats, fatty meats, all the processed food, that is not going to be good for anyone. It's going to take the body into more of a pro-inflammatory state. Now, we know that acne is a pro-inflammatory skin condition. So anything that going to be increasing inflammatory mediators and cytokine production may worsen acne in people that have got a predisposition to acne. So that's something to be really aware of. And again, if somebody is taking certain medications, it might be worsening their acne, particularly things like steroids. And I also say, you know, look at the gym junkies as well, because sometimes what they are doing that they think is healthy may actually be worsening acne. And that may be because they're taking things like whey protein. Sometimes these whey protein supplements in people that have got a tendency to acne, the whey protein may actually worsen that, again, because it's working on what we call these IGF-1 insulin-like growth factor. It's increasing that, which in turn can actually increase stimulation of the sebaceous glands. So,
I've actually seen a lot of evidence on that, Fiona, in the clinic. My clients that are coming through that are taking these sorts of powders, that the gut's not able to metabolize, it just throws it out through the skin. Yeah.
So definitely, if you've got someone that's sort of a big gym person and they're taking sort of the muscle building supplements, even things like branched chain amino acids, so those workout supplements for muscles and things, again, that can all affect the IGF-1, as can whey protein. So we always want to be asking that. Now, somebody may be taking these and having no issues with acne, then it's not an issue, right? So it's more, have you got acne? What are you taking that may be an issue contributing to that acne? And even you know, increased sweating, that may be through saunas, exercise, just through the humidity. That can also have an issue for some people with breakouts as well, because acne isn't just about hormones. We also know that the gut can play a role, and we also know that the skin microbiome can play a role. So people will often say their skin changes with the seasons, and we've always thought, well, how can that be? That's really odd. But there is some evidence to support that, because if the environment that these microbes are living in changes, the microbes are going to change as well. So if there's an increase in sebum, if there's an increase in temperature, humidity, that can change the environment that these microbes live or survive in. And so you can find that there tends to be an increase in breakout for people that are prone to it. So if you've been having saunas, if it's hot and muggy, I mean, in Sydney, it's quite muggy. So combine that with sort of sweat and sebum on the skin, maybe combining that with some heavy makeup, combine that with the mask that is increasing the heat and the humidity, we can start to see that congestion. And really the only thing for that is to be, you know, cleansing the skin. If we're going to be having more of a hot, humid environment, then we're going to need less hydration on the skin and less definitely occlusive type products on the skin. And under a mask, try and put it as little as possible on, because we don't want to be sort of feeding those microbes, because some people can get what we call acne, fungal acne, which isn't technically a thing. It's more a type of folliculitis, but sometimes it gets coined with the phrase fungal acne, and that's when we can get these little breakouts occurring that are more due to an increase in sebum and humidity on the skin, which then drives the growth of certain yeast type microbes in the skin. So all of the environment in which we live and what we put on our skin really also can play a role when it comes to congestion and when it comes to acne as well, as can what we're putting in our bodies. So that high fat diet, high refined carbohydrates, they're not all great for the skin. And if you are having a lot of milk products, the studies are with more skim milk, as I said, but saying that, I have seen it with full fat milk as well, even though there's not much evidence for it. So I think it is looking at the diet as a whole. We don't really know why it seems to be more with skim milk, and that might just simply be because people drink more of it because it's low fat. We just don't know. So we've always got to look at everything that's going on there. But reducing those sugary foods, reducing the low fiber foods, they're all the foods that aren't going to be doing our gut or our skin any favors. And so obviously, Rose, it's then looking at what we can do to increase in our diet to actually help that, which is coming back to the high fiber, sort of low processed food, low saturated fat food, and really high, or getting plenty of those prebiotic foods in, because not only are they fueling the gut, but they're also going to be helping systemic inflammation and helping to reduce those cytokines, which can also be involved in inflammatory acne as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just getting back to the skincare, a question, obviously avoiding products that are occlusive. Let's talk about SPF and sunscreen, because a lot of people say, oh, I've got acne, I can't use sunscreen. And we know how important that is to use because of the scarring component, but just mandatory every day anyway. What can we do about using SPF? Is there something better than something else to use for clients that do have acne skin? How important is it? What's your opinion on that?
Look, SPF is really important, and for some people it can be a case of trial and error to get the right SPF. Some SPFs can feel very thick and heavy, especially some of the waterproof type SPFs, and that's when I would say, always look for an SPF that's specifically designed for the face. Ideally an SPF that has also got added ingredients for the skin, such as antioxidants, and also even niacinamide is great because it helps with the immune system of the skin. We know that niacinamide helps with UV-induced skin cancers and things like that, helps to protect the skin.
Fantastic.
We also know that any exposure to UV will decrease antioxidants in the skin. So that's why it's great to have added antioxidants in an SPF. And if you don't have it in your SPF, well, hopefully it's in your moisturizer or your serum. So it's about getting an SPF that's right for you. I don't know if you use chemical or physical SPF.
Physical,
you prefer the physical. Again,
I do.
Quite a few people that do have more sort of sensitized or inflammatory skin conditions like to go with more the physical SPFs. But again, making sure that it's not a really thick, heavy textured one, because again, that can be problematic for some people. So
Sure.
that's why talking to a professional skin therapist is always great, and you would have the products to recommend for your clients rather than just pull a random one off and not really know if it's going to be any good or not.
Exactly.
Obviously you would be trialing and error, trialing all your skin products to know which SPFs you like and what you get the best results with your.
Oh, of course. Every client is just so different. So, you know, not one product suits every single person. But yeah, that's really good information. When it comes to supplements and treating acne, are there some that we need to avoid? Can it actually worsen acne if we're taking the wrong things?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, whenever anyone comes in with a skin problem or a skin issue, it's really important to look at diet, lifestyle, stress levels, but also look at what they are taking, whether that be medication or whether that be vitamin or mineral supplements, because we always need to take into consideration, is the medication possibly causing issues? And there are certainly some medications that may be worsening acne. As I said, things like steroids, for instance, they can be problematic in some people.
Yeah.
So find out what that medication is, and does that medication have potential side effects for breakouts. Obviously, if someone is on any type of hormonal medication, or is coming off the contraceptive pill, or has an IUD, sometimes that can cause changes in hormones and changes in, you know, skin flare-ups as well. So they're all things to be taken into consideration. Sometimes that can help the breakout. So, you know, we've got to really find out what's going on. Also, when it comes to vitamin supplements, just be aware that some supplements in some people may aggravate breakouts. So iodine is something that often gets discussed with acne, and some people find that with iodine-based supplements, or iodine itself, some people may get breakouts from that. The evidence is really sketchy, to be honest with you. So, but it could be contributing. There's also evidence to suggest that if somebody is iodine deficient, which can then influence the thyroid gland and cause things like hypothyroidism, that may also have an influence on things like cystic acne. So too much iodine may be an issue, but an iodine deficiency may also contribute to things like cystic acne. And we know that an iodine deficiency can also contribute to things like cystic breast tissue as well. So it's very interesting when it gets to supplements, you know, what's someone taking, but we also need to know, are they deficient in the first place? Because that might then not have an issue, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
Also, some B vitamins can be problematic. So when I say B vitamins, low amounts and the amounts that you find in your food, absolutely no problem. So I'm not saying they cause acne, but in high doses in some people, they may trigger acne breakouts, especially things like vitamin B12. So the higher the dose, so if you're having it as an injection, for instance, then you may find that you get a skin breakout in some people that are prone to it, not in everyone. But if you're finding you're on a B complex supplement and you're getting breakouts, there may be a contributing factor there for you. And it may be that it's too much, you're taking too much. And that's because we've known that some of the B vitamins, this is really fascinating, change the microbiota in the skin. And there's an increase in what we call porphyrins, which then increase sort of inflammatory mediators in the skin and can cause, it's not true acne, but can cause these breakouts in the skin. So just because you're on B vitamins, and some people may need them, if you're not getting breakouts, it's really no issue. But if you are getting breakouts and you're taking the B vitamins, that's where there may be a link. Also, as I've said, things like whey protein supplements and the branch chain amino acids, they may all be contributing also to breakouts in some people, but again, not in everybody. It's whether you've really got that predisposition to it.
I've certainly seen those clients that have had vitamin B infusions. They tend to develop, acne post-infusion. So that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, and temporary as well. So it's not like you're going to be stuck with acne. Yeah, it's just a sort of a temporary breakout, but it's just to be aware of what might have caused that. It's not going to be sort of long lasting, but it's just to be aware of it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely correct. Now, treating acne obviously holistically is the best thing to do. Let's delve into that holistic approach. Just explain a little bit more to clients, what does that actually mean? Like, how do we treat things holistically? We know because we're in industry. What information can you provide clients on how to treat acne and those flare-ups? What can we do?
I'm such a fan of treating acne holistically, and I don't know if I've told you this before, but acne is my favorite thing to treat. I love it. To me, it's like, come to me, let me treat you, and
it's satisfying, isn't it? It's so satisfying.
I'm gonna sort you out. Like, for me, it's such a challenge. Like, a defy. Like, just come to me. Let me treat you, because I love treating acne. And whilst there's a time and a place for medication, some of those acne medications are so intense and severe. They can affect the liver, they can affect, mental health. And so I always say medication can be really beneficial, but let's see what we can do before we get to that step. And that's where I get the real sort of thrill of trying to treat holistically. And that's when we're looking at the lifestyle factors. So look out, is there a lot of stress in your life, and what we can do to reduce that? Because just being stressed can actually really give someone a lot of breakout in the skin. And I don't think people realize how much it can influence the skin.
Oh, so, absolutely. Yeah. Just a level of anxiety that comes along with acne as well, and for someone that hasn't experienced it, it's hard to understand clients that are going through it. But that level of anxiety, that stress, that continual vicious circle just exacerbates everything as well.
And sometimes we're stressed and we don't know we're stressed. It can be a happy stress, if that makes sense. So when I moved to Australia from the UK sort of 20 years ago, over just 20 years ago, I didn't know anyone here. I was starting a new job. I was moving to the other side of the world. I was so excited, but just sort of the stress on my body, the stress of moving, not knowing anyone, job, the environment is a lot hotter and more humid. I got breakouts, and I'm someone that isn't prone to breakouts. I'm not acne prone, but even I arrived in Australia. I was working for a skincare company. I was teaching about skincare, and here I am covered in breakouts. I'm like, this is not a good look. And it was really purely down to the stress, which after a week or two, it all settled down, and I got on top of it. But it's important to understand, I didn't actually feel stressed. I was really excited, but it was still creating that stress response. So sometimes you might not feel stressed, but you still are. So again, trying to remove the stressor, looking at ways to de-stress, whether it's time out, walking, yoga, meditation. I'm a massive fan of herbal teas. Our Tranquility tea is great as a stress buster, because of the passion flower in there, which is great. We've also got the Vitality tea for those people that have got anxiety and burnout because of the ashwagandha that is in there as well. It's incredible. So there's a lot we can do with herbal blends, looking at ways to, just breath work, breathing, deep breathing can really help to calm the body. So looking at that. We also need to look at what we're using topically, and that's when really consulting with the expert is going to be beneficial, because there is so much information online now. Everyone's an expert, everyone's an influencer, everyone's saying avoid this ingredient, avoid that ingredient. And it's not that simple. It depends how much of that ingredient is in there, what else it's mixed with. So you can't, even with coconut oil, which we know is comedogenic and not great to use on the skin, if it's fractionated and in a tiny amount, then it's not comedogenic at all. So you can't tell that by looking at an ingredient list. So that's when it really pays to consult with an expert. Silicones, we now know, are actually skin protective. They're not congesting, but it depends what else that silicone is mixed with. If it is in a base that is more occlusive with other ingredients, or semi-occlusive, and it's got congesting ingredients, then it may be problematic. So it's really coming down to the final formulation and really speaking to an expert to be able to look up what you're using and whether it may be contributing to the breakouts. And even makeup is a big one.
It is.
That congestion and acne cosmetica, and there's a lot of foundations, a lot of bronzers, makeup primers, as I've mentioned, that can be really congesting. And it's about finding the right one that suits your skin, because that can be a huge part in dealing with the acne. And then, of course, we've got the topical ingredients that can be really beneficial for helping to keep acne under control. And, of course, your incredible professional in-clinic treatments too. Then I think when we combine that with the diet, that's when we can really get on top of acne. But quite often with the acne diets, I often see, it's toast for breakfast with coffee. Mid-morning, it might be another coffee. Maybe there's a sugar in the coffee. Sometimes those people might be drinking sort of caffeinated drinks throughout the day, which are more stimulating. For lunch, it might be a sandwich or 2-minute noodles. And as I've said, in the evening, it might be more sort of refined carbohydrates. They're not getting in the prebiotics, the fiber, and that's really taking the body into a pro-inflammatory state. So they're sort of the common mistakes that I see. Or just simply not enough fiber, not enough prebiotics, and really high fat type diets as well. So quite often, sometimes people can say, I eat really well, I eat a really clean diet. They may be on a really low carb diet, but they've still got a lot of saturated fat, and they're not getting in the fiber and the prebiotics and the greens and all the different colored fruits and veggies and the whole grains and the legumes and all the things they need. And so whilst they think their diet might be good, it may not be enough to really have that sort of anti-inflammatory effect. Because we know that what we eat can really affect the gut microbiota. And we know in acne that there does seem to be a change in the microbiome. There seems to be a dysbiosis in many acne sufferers. And again, it depends on the type of acne. There also can be less bifidobacteria. Now, bifidobacteria are the beneficial microbes, or certain type of microbes that help us to produce these short chain fatty acids that are so good for our health and so anti-inflammatory. So we want to be looking at foods that are going to be increasing the growth and the survival of the bifidobacteria. So we can do that by looking at really increasing those prebiotics. And as you know, at Vitasol, we're all about the prebiotics. There are some probiotics as well that can be taken in capsule form that can also be beneficial for acne as well. So we're looking at supporting the microbiome. We're also looking at supporting the integrity of the lining of the gut, so that we're not going into a pro-inflammatory state, which then can actually have a knock-on effect to the skin, because we know that with acne, it can be hormonal, it can be driven by androgens, but it can be driven by inflammatory mediators. So things like your cytokines. It can also be an increase in neuropeptides, so like substance P, which is an inflammatory mediator, you know, that will be driven from systemic inflammation. So we need to look at all those inflammatory mediators that may also be increasing stimulation of the sebaceous glands as well. So that's what we're talking about when we're looking at a holistic approach. So in my opinion, you know, diet is key. I know some people say it's not, but, you know, I've been doing this for so long. And for me, topical combined with a healthy diet is really key. But what I'm not saying is that one food will cause breakout. Some people will find that obviously they've had a big night, they've been drinking too much alcohol, they've been having a lot of dairy, they've been having a lot of sort of refined carbohydrates and sugar. Yeah, they probably will get the odd breakout. If they're prone to it, that can happen. Sure, but it's not about being scared of never eating that food again. It's getting, as I always say, the foundations right. So the fiber, the prebiotics, the whole grains, the legumes, the brightly colored vegetables, that's key. And then you can have a little bit of those other foods on top. Just don't live off all the low, you know, the low fiber and the ultra processed foods, because that will be taking you into that pro-inflammatory state. And if you're already in and you've already got breakout, you're just going to make that worse. But the other,
it just fires it up. Absolutely.
The other thing that's really good actually for acne is your omega-3s. So your essential fatty acids, we know, are going to be helping reducing inflammation. The omega-3, particularly from like fish, oily fish. But we also know that omega-3 can have a positive impact on the gut microbiome, but also omega-3 can help with lowering the IgA1 and sort of high insulin levels and inflammation within the body. So there is some benefit to that as well. Saying that, too much omega-3 in supplement form, when people megadose, in some cases may cause breakout. So don't rule that out either. So
how do you know if you're overdosing, Fiona? How do you know if you're actually taking too much omega-3?
Well, I think the higher the dose you go, the more likely you are to overdose. And when I say overdose, you know, anytime you're going above 3,000 milligrams, or 3,000 grams, I'm so bad with numbers, so 3 grams, just be careful, because then you can start to affect blood clotting. You can start having side effects, if you like. And if you are experiencing those side effects, are you bleeding more? Are you bruising more? Are you experiencing diarrhea? Are you getting breakouts since you've been taking more of that product? Then that's likely to be linked to that. Also, considering that it's a combination of what you are taking. So if you've got omegas in your diet, or if you're taking other supplements with omegas in, you may start to build everything up. If you're having oily fish 2 to 3 times a week and supplementing at a high dose, then you probably are taking too much, unless you have been diagnosed with a real deficiency and you need to get your levels up temporarily. So there's a lot that needs to be taken into consideration when you're taking concentrated supplements. If you're not having any oily fish in the diet, then you may need to be supplementing with omega-3, because whilst you can get it from plant sources, the conversion to the forms of omegas that we want for those anti-inflammatory effects is very poor. And so most people don't get enough in a plant-based diet. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but you probably would need to supplement. So whenever you're sort of starting to go what I call high dosage levels, usually that will come with a side effect. And the same goes for things like your B vitamins as well. The higher you go, the more likely you're going to get side effects from that as well.
Sure. And I imagine the quality is everything with omega-3s as well. You know, it's important to take the correct quality. You know, where does it come from? You know, that would make a difference as well, wouldn't it, and how the body metabolizes it?
It makes a huge difference, and as you know, I've got real trust issues when it comes to those things.
Same.
And you know, I mean, we're actually looking into we're actually bringing out our own omega supplement for that reason, because the quality does really vary, and quite frankly, for a consumer to be able to tell the quality is pretty much impossible. There are different grades of omegas, different concentrations, different grades with contaminants in them, and there's a scale. So obviously, usually the cheaper the oil, the poorer the quality, but you can't go by that as a guide as a consumer, because a very poor quality oil could charge a lot. You know, they could put a high price tag on it to mislead you into thinking you've got a higher quality product. So you can't always go by price point. That can actually be quite misleading. You really have to go for a brand and a company that you trust, and that, you know, you really believe in that integrity of the product. With the omegas, all of the quality and the grades, they are all sort of registered with the TGA, but a consumer wouldn't have access or know how to access that information. So it does come down to trusting who you are buying that product from, and understanding, you know, find out more from that brand about the quality, where they source the product from. Is the fish farmed fish? Is it wild caught fish? Are they using smaller fish? You know, I prefer things like the sardines and the mackerel when you're sourcing fish oil, rather than the large fish that can have more heavy metals. So all of those things are things that you want to be taking into consideration, and also how that product is stored, because with omegas, they can go rancid very easily, and then if you're using a rancid oil, that can potentially be more problematic and more pro-inflammatory. So the protection of that delicate omega is crucial, because if you're taking oxidized oil, then that's really not going to be great for you. So the clarity and the taste of the oil is also very important as well. What else is added to that oil to help or slow down oxidation, and making sure that those products have all gone through the proper testing to make sure that, you know, they're good quality. But for a consumer, that's pretty much impossible for them to do. So it does come to the integrity of the company.
Of course, yeah. And it's like anything, isn't it? It's anything that you take, really, you've got to trust the company. And I guess when it comes to treating acne, I think I tell my clients a lot as well that it's patience. You know, these changes don't happen overnight. It takes time. So you think about how long it's actually taken for the skin to get in this state. What are we going to do to actually help you to move forward? It's just going to take time and patience. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And look, I think if you've got someone that's got really inflamed acne, even cystic acne, like really problematic acne, that's going to take longer to treat. And I've seen acne usually clear between 9 and 12 months. It can take that long, but you are going to see an improvement, you know, in a matter of months. You know, 3 months, maybe the redness has gone down, maybe the severity has gone down. But for real sort of clearing, it will take months. And remember, we're not only working topically, we're also working holistically, internally as well. And that does take time. So I always say give it a good 3 months, depending on the severity. But expect in really sort of inflamed conditions, it could take 9 to 12 months. I'm talking for like real clearing. And usually that's what you need to allow. But an improvement will be seen all along. But depending on the severity of the acne. So really it's consistency is key with your topical, with your internals, with diet and lifestyle. It's really important, because if you've got acne and then at the weekend you're going out and you're drinking loads, some people will take recreational drugs, which are a nightmare for acne. So taking stimulants. You're partying, that's all going to be coming out through your skin. Smoking's not going to do you any favors either. So all of those factors have to be taken into consideration. So we can do so much in clinic. We can also do so much with the diet, but a lot of that is diet and lifestyle as well. I'm not saying never have a glass of wine, but it's, you know, how much are you going to, we don't want to be completely undoing all the good work we're doing. I always say, you know, if you're going to the gym and you're eating a donut while you're on the treadmill, you're sort of making the, you know, the results. It's going to be very hard to get those results. And the same goes for skin treatments as well. If you're not using the right home care, if you're not using the right makeup, if you're not using the right, you know, if you're not looking at increasing the fiber and the prebiotics in the diet, the leafy greens, all those beautiful fresh foods, then there's only so much we can do. But when we combine all of that, that's when I see the magic happens. And that's when it's so fulfilling to really see someone from cystic acne that's just about to go on Roaccutane, and you're like, hang on, just give me 6 months, give me a little bit of time. And when you can literally transform somebody's skin, that's what I live for, Rose, and I'm sure that's what you live for too. See
Totally.
that.
The changes, you know, they happen instantly. You know, when you take this approach and you treat it holistically and the clients really are on board with everything, the results happen so quickly. And you just create that momentum, and, you know, it might be being rigid for a little while, but it does pay off, you know. And if you find that you do happen to go out on a weekend and, you know, in a few months' time and they have that alcoholic drink or they have that piece of cake or whatever it may be, they don't see such a setback. So it is about rebuilding. It's about changing the mindset, you know, and keeping positive and working on that level of self-confidence, assuring them, all, you know, along the way that they really are achieving the results. I think that makes a huge thing. It's the only way to do it. You just got to treat it holistically. It's the only way.
Absolutely. And as I say, get the foundations right and not be sort of scared or sort of, well, what we don't want people to do is like get paranoid about foods and think they can never have dairy and they can never have,
of course,
you know, they can never have a slice of pizza, they can never have a glass of wine. It's not about that. It's about getting the foundations right, and taking that holistic approach, and that's when we're going to see the long-term results for sure. And I honestly have seen incredible results with acne. Like I love treating acne. I think we can get such great results in clinic, and then also when we combine it with diet, that's when we can really, you know, it's the confidence in somebody that is so life-changing. I think that
absolutely. Yeah, and the amount of clients I get in tears, you know, it's just wonderful to see them come out the other end and just be, you know, totally happy within themselves. It's wonderful. You know, I find in the beginning too, because I use a lot of the Vitacell powders when I'm treating acne, and I usually start a lot with the liver gut support. Would you say as you're going through their treatment plan and the acne starts to reduce, it flattens, the oil flow normalizes, the skin starts to function better, they're left with the scarring, would you say then moving on to a different powder to then support those treatments that are going to rejuvenate collagen? Do you think that's something that we should, you know, delve into?
Absolutely. And I think, you know, the scarring usually is due to excessive inflammation and then that breakdown of collagen. So the more we can help to prevent or sort of help to reduce that inflammation, the less that we're going to see the scarring. So getting them on sort of an anti-inflammatory diet, like we spoke about earlier, getting them on the purity greens, which is all your leafy greens. It's a really great source of your provitamin A. We've also got naturally sourced zinc in there, which we also know is very good for acne. Also, it's got your cruciferous veggies, which is great for liver health, milk thistle, great for liver health. And we're really giving the gut and the skin the nutrients that it needs, plus the prebiotics to help fuel up those beneficial microbes like the bifidobacteria that we were speaking about. In turn, helps with the short chain fatty acid production. So that's sort of your foundation in combination with a healthy diet. Also making sure that they're getting plenty of antioxidants, so things like your berries, all the brightly colored nutrients, because that also is going to help to protect against that inflammatory state. And also getting those polyphenols, which you'll get from all your berries. We know that the Infinity is polyphenol rich as well. We know that polyphenols will help to protect the breakdown of collagen as well. So that's also very beneficial to have an antioxidant-rich diet when we're looking at acne. But also the collagen can be really beneficial as well, because with the collagen, that's also helping with the collagen production. So you can get the faster breakdown of collagen because the skin is in such an inflamed state. And as a result, we will get acne scarring and pitting. And so collagen can be really beneficial as well. So that would be a good one to get them on, because not only is the collagen, because it's collagen peptides, it's sort of signaling the fibroblast cell to keep making collagen. But studies have shown that when we supplement with collagen peptides, that the peptides also help to inhibit the MMPs, which are the enzymes that break down collagen and elastin. So that's going to help to provide that balance in the skin. So that would also be really beneficial for acne skins as well. So start on the purity, and then really ideally add in the collagen as well. That would be really beneficial. As a rough guide, and it depends on everyone, as you know, Rose, but I normally try and say keep with the purity for as long as you're having that acne treatments.
Okay.
As a guide. And then start to introduce the collagen as well, because that's also, as I said, it's going to help protect against the scarring and the pitting, but also it's going to help stimulate the fibroblast cell. And when I say scarring, I'm talking more about the pitting, the indentation, the unevenness in the skin. If it's more post-inflammatory, well, not even post-inflammatory, if it's more just the red marks that some people call acne scarring, usually that's more a sign of poor wound healing. And that usually would be my indicator that this is an acneic skin that is low in minerals. You know, they're not getting enough nutrients in the diet. So if the actual breakout has gone and there's no papule or pustule or whitehead, but there's just a little red mark where the skin is still healing, that is when we really would be going, okay, we need to really up the minerals in the diet, particularly things like zinc. And so that is when I go, okay, well, let's swap the purity out now for the flexibility and the collagen, because the flexibility has got your minerals. That is the product that we recommend. It's all natural minerals that we recommend to support wound healing of the skin, to provide the necessary nutrients for the skin to do what it needs to do. And then the collagen is just giving those that extra signaling, if you like, to the fibroblast cell to keep making collagen and to help to protect against the breakdown of collagen. So that will help to protect against, you know, the pitting. We don't want the indentations and the pitting. Yeah. We know, you know, skin needling is great for that, to really help with acne skins. But ideally, if we can sort of prevent getting to that stage, and that can be a really beneficial thing as well. So it might be that you then swap purity and flexibility if you're seeing purple markings that are lingering. And that's really the same for anyone. I always say, if you cut or burn yourself, if you get a mosquito bite, if you're getting red marks that linger, you know, those red purple marks, so you get breakouts, but you get these purple marks that linger for ages, usually that's a sign of poor wound healing. And that's when we can support you with minerals. Post-operative as well, you know, people that get these red marks and scars that won't heal, it's a sign that you're not getting enough of the nutrients it needs. So usually that's my signal. Okay, that's an acne skin that does need the minerals and the zinc.
I find your flexibility powders very good for those procedures that have downtime. I find the clients that have been on it for a significant amount of time, they tend to heal a lot faster from procedures like needling or laser. It's a really good product. It's
really designed to support those treatments. Of course, those treatments are going to induce a wound healing response, which then calls on more nutrients for increased wound healing. So your nutrient requirement will go up. And so really that's what the flexibility is designed to do. It's designed to support giving you the vitamins and minerals, the vitamin C, it's got amino acids in there as well, all naturally sourced, to really help give that extra nutrition that the skin needs for wound healing. Now, in intense cases, where we're really stimulating that wound healing, or maybe it's post-operative, for instance, or a skin such as an acne skin, increased inflammation, and potentially we're going to see a sort of a breakdown of collagen due to the inflammation, then we would also include the collagen as well. So it might be a young skin that you wouldn't normally recommend collagen to, but in that instance, flexibility for the minerals and the wound healing and collagen together will really support that.
Yeah, it's a great combination. Oh, wonderful. Any more wise words, Fiona? I love listening to you.
I love talking to you. I wish you were just nearer, because then I can come for skin treatment. So
I would love that. I know. When COVID settles, then yeah, absolutely come in and visit. I'd love to look after you. Your skin looks fantastic, if I may say that.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, I'm sort of doing all the things, hopefully, that I hope that I do practice what I preach. I'm a big believer in that. So
I can see it.
hoping it's paying off. I'm 51 next week, so I'm
wow, you look amazing.
Doing what I can do halfway through life. So it's all about doing what we can do to stay fit and healthy, and that's what I love doing. So
yeah, of course, getting younger as we get older, I say. Thank you so much again, Fiona, and I'm really excited about your new product. I can't wait.
Thank you. Yes, we've got the Omega coming out, so that's the first of our capsule range.
Yes.
And then when I said capsule to you, I didn't mean the powders are coming in capsule. I meant it's a capsule range. So yeah.
I'm not going to lie. When you said capsules, I got excited because I thought, oh, how fantastic! This is so quick and easy. But yeah, that's great. I'm so excited. I can't wait.
Yeah, so that will be coming out sort of around April time, we're hoping, subject to COVID, because obviously manufacturers, etc., everyone's staff shortage and transport delays and everything.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited because it's a little bit different, and it's special and specifically designed for treating the skin. And quite honestly, there's nothing quite like it. But we are looking at some sort of intense capsules, if that makes sense, for specific skin conditions, more nutrient depleted skins, and that will be the first of the capsule range.
Yay! Excellent, fantastic. Thank you so much again. You're fantastic.
You too. Happy New Year to everybody, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
We will. Thank you, Fiona. Bye.